Hey y'all, it's Fantasia. Welcome to my channel, Sewing with Tay. It has been a while. I feel like I'm very inconsistent with these YouTube videos, but I am trying. I get super busy and then the videos go out the window because it's hard to sew and film. But here we are after a few crazy weeks of projects. I am back. So today we are going to talk about embroidery. As you know, I got a PRS100 brother machine that I was able to purchase with grant money I received from the city of Columbus. Yay. So I have this machine. One, I've been trying to learn how to use it, and it's not as crossover friendly from sewing to embroidery as I assumed it would be. So I'm still learning and training myself. So a few weeks ago, it is July, so last month, June, maybe early June, before Father's Day, someone reached out to me to see if I knew how to do one of those outline, doodle, scribble type embroidery that is popular right now, of like her husband and their daughter, like for a t-shirt. And I'm like, perfect. I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to learn. So I did some research. I went on YouTube. I looked at what I thought made sense from the artist in me to the sewist in me, and basically this is what I landed with. Theirs came out really great, and I shared it on my social media. If you don't follow me already, it's the Aya Emporium, which is Tay, the Aya Emporium, on Facebook and Instagram. And I no longer have a TikTok. I got banned for some crazy reason. So I have a new TikTok, which is Sewing with Tay, but I don't put anything on there because the energy that was put into trying to build that platform for to just be taken away for absolutely no reason. Maybe I'll get the energy to do that, but probably not. So back to it. I posted on my Instagram, and a bunch of people were like, "Oh, these are dope." So I ended up making a couple more. I'll post them, like pictures in here, so you can kind of see the ones that I've done before. So I've done about 4 or 5 of them. So I'm not an expert. No, I'm still relatively new to embroidery. I've had this embroidery machine for about 5, 6 months ish, or maybe longer. I had it maybe late 2022, so like 7, 8 months. But I didn't really get into it until this year because I was working on New Year's and everything else. So I'm going to show you how I choose to do the doodle embroidery or sketch embroidery. I use two things. I have my Adobe Illustrator, which I have just being a design student, artist in general. And I bought software to go with my embroidery machine. I bought Janome Artistic Digitizer. I know that's Janome and my machine is Brother, but at the time it made sense. It was a little difficult at first, but it's making more sense now. But that's what I have, and it was a couple $100, so I'm like, I need to use it. And I've seen people use one called Doodle. I did attempt to test that, but you can't save anything you use in Doodle without purchasing something. So I went back, and then I learned that I could just use Illustrator or the Digitizer option in Artistic Digitizer. But at the end of the day, after all the trial and error, I decided that Adobe Illustrator and Artistic Digitizer is the way to go for me for this specific project and for a lot of projects in general, because one, I already have the software and I know how to use Illustrator. I'm still learning how to use Artistic Digitizer. So let's get into the tutorial. I did like some screen recording, and I'll talk you through where I clicked and what I was doing and why, and then I'll show you me putting it into my machine and it's stitching out. Okay, so I'm using this picture of my sons. We went to the zoo and they're looking at the giraffes. I prefer pictures like this with the target looking away. I think these are the easiest. Side profiles are good, front profiles are a lot harder. So we're just going to use this rear facing profile of my sons. So I just popped this picture into Illustrator. I'm going to tell you the shortcuts that I use. So I just make the picture pretty big just because I like it that way. And then I'm going to zoom in super close. So to lock your image, I'm going to hit Command 2, Control 2 to lock it so it doesn't move. I'm using a pen tool, and you can use the letter N as a shortcut to open it up. And I'm going to just start tracing shapes that I see along the body. So around the hat, around the edges of the hair, I do try to capture, you see like some wrinkles in the sleeve and wrinkles in the shorts just to make it look more realistic. I find that it's hard to control the pencil tool because it will connect to like other lines. I don't know how to not do that. So what I started doing was whenever I would make a new segment, I just hit command to lock it so that it can't connect to the new stitch. But I started using a Wacom tablet, just like a stylus and a pad, to make it easier to draw these. So I did trace some, outlines in my younger son's shirt, the lines for the socks. I realized my child had on one long sock and one short sock. I didn't notice that when we were at the zoo, geez, us. So I just faked it and made him two regular size socks. I did put a little bit of the background in there so they're not just standing there oddly. So I put a little bit of the rail in the background. I have been struggling to embroider numbers and letters. So I thought I would just put these in here, the number 16, and it did not end up embroidering well. So whatever. But you're going to hit object, unlock all, and then you're going to delete your picture. And then you're going to give it a once over to make sure nothing looks crazy. I thought, move these sleeves in, connect that armhole, fix that double line there. At one point, I wanted to add a little bit of face for my older son, like maybe like his chin poking out the side, but I couldn't get the shape the way I wanted it to like freehand. So I ended up just deciding that no, I'm just going to leave it as it is because you couldn't see it in the original picture. But I do like to do this, go in and like make any last tweaks. When you're editing your lines, you're going to hit the A button for the like mouse where you can actually click your points and then you can adjust and move the points. If you click V, that will select vector like whole lines, which I didn't need. So I'm just going to save this as a straight up Illustrator file. I don't have to change any type of formatting for this. You just leave it straight as an Illustrator file and hit save. So now I am going to open Artistic Digitizer and I'm going to click open, and you literally just open up that Illustrator file right into the system and it will look like this. My standard hoop on here is a 4x4, which is too small. So I'm going to change my hoop size to an 8x8. I can't stand this grid, especially when trying to look at what your embroidery. So I just go to view, grid, turn off the show so that the grid goes away. So this is what we have, and I'll zoom in and you will see that we just have kind of like long kind of running stitches. Don't like those. I like them to be satin stitches and I like them to be a little bit on the thicker side. So we need to go in and change these stitches. I have tried to use Control A and select all of the stitches and change them all at once, but I found that does not work, and I haven't figured out what I'm supposed to be doing that I'm not doing. Again, I'm not the expert. So I literally just start clicking on sections and click the satin button, and I changed my density of my stitches to 0.010 instead of 0.018, just because I feel like the stitches looked a little sparse, and I like them to be more of a thicker, continuous like embroidery. So you'll see here, I'm like going through making small adjustments. If you ever need to edit a node, you won't click selection. If you look on my left side, the first button I'm using right now is the selection tool, which I can use to select any of these segments. But if I want to edit a node to like make something curved or make something straight, I'm going to hit the second one, not the first one. And you can't do that with this selection button. You have to do it with the second one. So you'll see me sometimes go back and forth. I'll click on the next one so that I can edit the actual node to make it straighter or more curved. Sometimes they will put random colors in here, so you'll see like there's a red fill on the bottom left hand corner. There's a red fill, and then there's also a red line for the outlines. So I'm just gonna go through here and just make some small tweaks. Try to select on everything to update the stitch type and the stitch density. And I thought it was pretty good. I am gonna be going back and like editing the hat a little, and I didn't trace everything to be exact because I think that's a part of the element of it being a doodle. I thought it was kind of interesting, to make things not exactly as the picture, but more of like a sketch. So, like, you'll see that the hat wasn't exactly like the original image. And with, these stitches, you see how they look kind of like scraggly. But you see the one on the hat is a little bit more concentrated. It's because I've updated the density on those, but not updated them on the rest. So you'll see me here clicking random like segments of line, and I go over here on my right and I update the density, and then once you hit enter, you will see it automatically switch. So now it's a more solid, more concise line. And I'm gonna have to work on that number 16. I thought I could try just using the text feature in Artistic Digitizer, and it just wasn't coming together. I did try. I just tried to edit it, then make it a little bit smaller, and the proportions wasn't changing the way I wanted to. So I was on a struggle bus a little bit. And you see here now I'm selecting more of these sections, and the shorts and the legs and the socks and the Crocs. Change all of these, the density. If I click these line by line like this, it will update. But if I if I select all, it will not update like that. So, at least not that I figured out so far. So here you see, I kind of told you guys how the stitches get really close together. I'm just moving them around so that they're not so bunched up. I did have to do a little bit work on this A because it was looking crazy. So I have to update the density, but for some reason they're kind of overlapping here. So I'm just moving, and I found this extra piece there, moving them around so that they fit a little bit better and actually looks like the original sample. Every time that I digitize something, I do go to the slow redraw. I just think it's helpful to like watch it to understand which order it's going to stitch out, just in case anything comes up. So this here is me saving it as a draw file. You want to make sure you have a draw file so you can go back and edit it, and it will be saved. Once I did that, I went through and I'm going to do another check over everything. This here, I was trying to change the color because one of the stitches was like off, but I couldn't figure out what it was. So I'm like, okay, let me just go back and take everything back to where it was. Once I did that, I was taking like a bird's eye view of everything, and I could see there was a few more stitches that hadn't been converted to my new stitch density. Like this one, I'm going to edit the node and move it up. The same here, this one, the stitch density was not updated to how I like it. Now I'm going to save my file as a PES file, and I save this on an USB stick. So normally I would hit save from my draw file on my computer, but to be able to use this on my Brother Persona PRS100, I saved it on a flash drive. I have a folder here, and I'm going to switch that to PES and then hit save. And now I'm going to head over to my embroidery machine. All right, y'all, I'm a mighty hoop girl. Once I got a mighty hoop, I can't go back. It's become so easy to hoop things. I can never go back. They are expensive, and there's a lot of pieces, and I still have more things I need to buy or want to buy. But first, I need to get more business. So this is my mighty hoop. It's a really strong magnet that's kind of hard to pull apart. But here you go. You have your bottom of your frame and your top of your frame. I'm going to put this inside my bag, and then I thought maybe I should decide where I want this to go. So this is my like 8x8 hoop, so you get like 7x7, something of that nature, like embroidery area. So I decided to fold my bag in half. I grabbed my chalk. This is just regular kids Crayola chalk. And I'm going to mark the center of my bag where the fold is. And then I'm going to fold my bag the other way, and I'm going to mark it there. A note about this bag. I went to Juneteenth event, and they were giving out these community canvas bags from Adidas. That's what this bag is. It's nothing special. I just wanted to test out a tutorial on this, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm using tearaway interfacing. I think you could use other interfacing, but I just thought tearaway would be cool because it's the inside of a bag, and you don't want extra tearaway just hanging in there, or extra like interfacing or backing just sitting in there, which it didn't really matter because once I did pull this off, quite a bit of it stayed on and I had to go through and like really pull it off. So either way, I'm gonna put my frame in, then I'm gonna put my embroidery piece in, and I'm gonna slide it in and make sure that it is covering and that it is laying flat. I'm kind of filling around the frame to make sure it's centered with the lines that I marked on my bag. So at one point I felt like it was a little off and that it needed to go down some more, because one thing you do not want is for your needle to hit your hoop. I've done it before, definitely don't want to do it again. But since this is a magnet, you literally just figure out how you want this to go. I want it this way and it snaps right on. It's a very strong magnet, so you have to be careful because you do not want to snap your finger in between those magnets. Hey girl, this is my machine. First thing with the machine, I just make sure I have enough thread in here. I do use pre-wound bobbins. Once I figured out that was the thing, I am never winding a bobbin ever. There's this little lever there that makes it difficult to get the bobbin into the machine, and I have these long nails right now, so it was kind of difficult. I don't think it'd be that difficult for everybody else. So I did close this, but then I remember I have to oil my machine. I don't know if this is all machines or Dress Brother, but you have to put a little drop of oil on the bobbin case inside the machine to make sure it's lubricated or something of that nature. And they gave us the oil in this nice little squeezy twist on top bottle. So I have it oiled up. I have my bobbin and bobbin case and the machine. We're going to close it up. And now I'm going to turn the machine on. It's going to move around a little. I'm going to pop in my USB. There's a little stylus on the back of it that I love. So this is my embroidery. It will show up on the screen in a couple seconds as soon as I can get into it. I had to scroll down a little bit and there it is, and it's a little bit bigger than my frame, but I don't have my frame on the machine, so it's registering something smaller than what I have. So here is my mighty hoop with my bag on it. I made a fatal mistake, and I tried to not make the mistake, and I still made the mistake, so I'm gonna tell y'all about it. I have a single arm machine, as you can see here. Make sure your straps in your bag is pulled out the way and that they're not under the machine. I thought I did that. Once I got it on, you can see that I was kind of checking the inside to make sure that the bag, the handles, whatever, are not under the needle, but some kind of way it still did. And I ended up having to cut my strap on my bag, but I'm guessing if I really want to carry it, I can just sew it back together. So this is me checking to make sure that the entire bag is pulled up. Make sure you do a better job than I did. And then once we get settled, I will hit the start button for it to start sewing. I think because I like my density a little bit high, this has so many stitches. It was like 31,000 stitches for this, and I was just like, what? That's insane. So once I updated my frame and put it on the machine, you can it updated, so it's not saying that it's cutting off anymore. But I went to go embroider it, and these are mighty hoops. They're not the frames that came with the machine. I like to hit this button here, which will trace kind of out where the embroidery will be. And I realized it's a little bit close. Look at that, it's going to hit the blue section. So I need to go back. I need to make it just a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to come back to this embroidery screen, and then I'm going to hit this trace button again, and it is looking so much better. I am not nervous about the needle bar hitting the blue side of the frame. Once I've traced it, and I think it's pretty cool, you can look here, there's a red dot. That red dot is lined up with my center and my other center, so I feel pretty good about where it's placed. I'm going to hit the lock button, and then I'm going to hit this green button, and then it will start stitching. And here we are. My embroidery is finished. I'm just gonna hit OK on the screen, and then I'm gonna hit the home button, and it's gonna go back home. So here is my embroidery. I am hitting the home button now to close it out. I'm going to pop out my frame, and it comes out pretty easy, no struggle. And that's what it looks like inside the frame still. They're so cute. And I really like the denser stitches. I don't know what the other stitches would look like. I just knew I didn't want that. So I'm going to pull this apart. And again, it is kind of hard to pull apart. Gotta use some muscles. There is a little tab on one side. And you can try to use that to hold it down, to pull it away from each other. But as you can see, I had to cut the strap. It's already cut here because it was caught. And I told you guys I used tearaway stabilizer. So once we go inside, you will see me just kind of ripping it away because we don't want it in the way of using the bag. So you'll see there that that one strap is cut, but everything else is still on pretty good. I will work to get all the rest of those out. But it is so cute, and crazy that I thought of this today at the zoo. I'm like, oh, I want to take this picture of my kids and do it again for a bag. So here we are. This is the bag, and it is complete outside of my broken strap.